Hello, welcome to part two of the lecture of week four. I need to do two different parts because the software that I'm using only allows me to use or to record 15 minutes at a time. So that's why I have this part two, which includes key concepts related to socialization and community related to adulthood and late adulthood. We know that adulthood varies dramatically across and even within cultures and depends on many factors, including age, gender, socioeconomic status, occupation, family structure, and timing of life events such as marriage, parenthood, grandparenthood, and retirement. However, there's very little research specifically focused on adulthood and the variation across cultures. We know is that during early adulthood, typically early 20s and mid 30s, and people in many different cultures across the world, they're dealing with a crisis of intimacy versus isolation, and decisions are typically made about establishing a close, intimate relationship with another person or individual, or decide to go their way alone and fail to achieve an intimate relationship. However, if related to adulthood and the age ranges, this is very difficult discussion, or not discussion, but just in general to know when a person has reached adulthood if we only take into consideration the age of a person. Because, for example, consider um, the person or girl that we talked about previously, um, who is 14 years old. She lives with her husband in her village, cooks his meals, and takes care of her daughter. And then also think about other countries or cultures in which child marriages are common. So we need to ask in which stage do we put these individuals in and compare with earlier stages of the development. There's a less cross-cultural research on this stage, so more research need to be conducted on this stage, and specifically um, going beyond what is common in Western societies and taking into consideration and what is common in other societies. Moving on to late adulthood and cultural viewing of aging. So during that last period in the lifespan, older adults find themselves dealing with a crisis of integrity versus despair. So, according to Erickson, when individuals reach this stage, they tend to reflect on their lives. So, how would culture play a role in shaping the ecological setting in which we age and how we are socialized as older members of that society? So, in Western societies, late adulthood is often seen as negative because um, it, there's a great emphasis on economic and career success, and nuclear families are the norm. And in these cultures, um, oftentimes older adults are seen as burdens for the family. These kind of societies in which the young people enjoy the greatest status, the elderly are often rejected, and this is common in contemporary North American society. But in contrast, in other cultures such as Asian, South American, or African cultures, intergenerational families are still the norm, and older relatives are looked at after by their family or by their village community. And family members look at older members of the family as being wise and knowledgeable members of society, and that they have a lot to offer. As such, older family members are really respected and valued, and many people really look forward to aging. I think it is clear based on the readings and on this lecture that there are multiple variables that contribute to cultural differences, including cultural context, societal beliefs and values, individual views of children and their place in society, rural versus urban, family structure, and parenting styles, to only mention a few. So I hope we continue to reflect on um, some of the points or discussion that were mentioned during this presentation, and we can continue discussing them through the discussion board and through the group activity. Thank you. Have a great week.